Good day, dear land of Olympus viewers. We will be with you with the history of Şanlıurfa, which is seen as one of the oldest settlements in the world today. I wish you all a good time. Şanlıurfa, known as Urfa for short, or Edessa, as it was known in ancient times, is a province of Turkey and the 8th most populous city. According to the data of 2020, its population is 2,115,256 people. The city has borders with Mardin in the east, Gaziantep in the west, Adıyaman in the north, Diyarbakir in the northeast and Syria in the south. Şanlıurfa has 13 districts. With an average altitude of 518 meters, Şanlıurfa is the 7th largest province in Turkey with an area of 19,451 square kilometers. The city, which has an extremely hot and dry climate in summers, spends cool and humid winters. Şanlıurfa, the most populous city in the southeastern Anatolia region with a population of more than 2 million, is also the province with the most dynamic population in Turkey with a median age of 24. About 12 kilometers northeast of the city is Göbeklitepe, the oldest known temple in the world, thought to date back to 10,000 BC. With the discovery of Göbeklitepe, it has been proven that this region is a part of the network of first human settlements where the agricultural revolution took place and has a deep-rooted historical past. It is believed that the city, which has been the subject of the stories of the prophet Abraham and King Nemrod in folk tales and religious beliefs, and which is referred to as the city of the prophets and the holy city, was founded by Nemrod. Beginning from the 1st millennium BC, this city, which was under the rule of Assyrians, Medes, Achaemenids, Macedonians, the Seleucids, one of the heirs of Alexander the Great, the Osroene kingdom, and then the Roman and Byzantine empires, has an important place in the history of Christianity and was the center of Syriac culture. Although Urfa gradually lost this feature after it was conquered by the Muslim Arabs in the 7th century, a significant Assyrian and Armenian population remained in the city until the beginning of the 20th century. The city, which came under Ottoman rule after the Ottoman Sultan Yavuz Sultan Selim defeated the Mamluk state in the Battle of Mursidabek in 1516, remained under Ottoman rule for 400 years until it was occupied first by the British and then by the French in 1919. The city was liberated from occupation on April 11, 1920 and left to Turkey with the Ankara Agreement signed on October 20, 1921 between the Turkish Grand National Assembly and the French government. After the proclamation of the Republic, it became a province in 1924. The name of the province of Urfa was changed to Şanlıurfa with the law numbered 3020 published in the official gazette dated the 22nd of June 1984 and numbered 18,439. In 2016, the city was awarded the Medal of Independence by the Grand National Assembly of Turkey for the heroism of the people of Şanlıurfa in the Turkish War of Independence. Considering the results of the address-based population registration system, for the year 2011 announced by the Turkish Statistical Institute, Şanlıurfa became a metropolitan city with the law No. 6360 dated the 12th of November 2012. Etymology. The oldest known name of the city is Edessa and it dates back to the Seleucid period from the Hellenistic kingdoms established after the death of Alexander. Since the Seleucids, Urfa has gained fame with the name Edessa for a long time. The name Edessa means plenty of water in the Greek language. Urfa was also a city with plenty of water due to the Karakoyan stream flowing through it and the boiling springs. But the Assyrians did not use this Greek name, they used Urhe. It is claimed that the word Urfa generally comes from the Syriac Urhe. Another view is that it is based on Osirene in Greek and Orpe in Latin. Its meaning in these languages is castle, or spring. The use of Ruha, which became widespread through written sources during the Ottoman period, came from the Arabic name of the city, Ruha. The name Ruha was used in the Ottoman period until the beginning of the 20th century, and then it turned into Urfa, probably by accepting the Turkish pronunciation in the colloquial language. In 1984, the city was named Şanlıurfa with the decision of the Turkish Grand National Assembly to point out its importance during the national struggle. He received the title of Şanlı in 1984 due to the memory of his success in the War of Independence. Prehistoric times, Neolithic and Chalcolithic period. In recent years, important information about the history of humanity has been obtained with the archaeological findings unearthed one after another in Şanlıurfa. It has been seen that the history of human settlement in the city center of Urfa dates back to 9500 BC, to the Neolithic period, with a human-shaped prehistoric statue called the Man of Urfa, which was found as a result of an expedition to the north of today's Basilicacistern under the city center in 1993. In 1997, one of the oldest temples of humanity was unearthed in the findings obtained during the excavations in Göbeklitepe mound near Orancik village, approximately 22 kilometers northeast of Şanlıurfa city center. Upright located opposite each other in high height human, hand and arm, various animals and abstract symbols are depicted embossed or carved on the altars. This composition is thought to express a story, a narrative or a message. It is described as a cult center, not a settlement. It is understood that the cult structures here were built by the last hunter groups who were close to agriculture and animal husbandry. Göbeklitepe is an important cult center for hunter-gatherer groups with a highly developed and deepened belief system. In this case, it is claimed that the earliest use of the region dates back to the A phase of the pre-pottery Neolithic age, that is, at least 11,600 years ago. It is understood that Göbeklitepe's use as a cult center continued until around 8000 BC, and it was abandoned after these dates and was not used for other or similar purposes. Antiquity in Harran. Today, it is a district of Şanlıurfa and is 45 kilometers from the city. The name of the city of Harran, located in the southeast of the city, is found for the first time in cuneiform tablets from the beginning of the 2nd millennium BC. Among these tablets is a document stating that a treaty was signed in the Temple of Sin in Harran. Mesopotamia was one of the most important centers of pagan belief, and here were the temples of the moon god Sin and the sun god Shamash. In the middle of the 2nd millennium BC, the moon god Sin and the sun god Shamash in Harran were witnesses to a treaty made between the Hittites and the Mitanni. After that, it is seen that Harran is frequently mentioned in the Babylonian, Hittite and Assyrian tablets. According to Assyrian tablets, the region was a place where Hurrians and Mitanni settled in the 2000s BC. The settlement of the Aramaeans, who are the ancestors of the Assyrians, coincided with the period when they established the Bitadini state in the lands stretching along both sides of the Euphrates by migrating from Mesopotamia to the north after the 11th century BC. Harran was connected to the Assyrian Empire in 857 BC. After the capture of Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire, with the cooperation of the Medes and Chaldeans in 609 BC, the last Assyrian king too. Assyrian Ubalat took refuge in Harran Castle and the Assyrian Empire continued there for 3 more years. In 612 BC, the Assyrian Empire was completely destroyed and Harran was dominated by the Medes and Chaldeans, respectively. King of Assyria too in 722 BC. When Sargon invaded the state of Israel and deported the Jews to Mesopotamia and Harran, the region met a Jewish community for the first time. A significant Jewish population emerged in Mesopotamia as a result of Nebuchadnezzar, the ruler of the Chaldeans, king of Babylon, conquering Jerusalem in 586 BC, destroying the city and the Temple of Solomon, eliminating the kingdom of Judah and expelling the Jews from the region. As a result of this event, which went down in history as the Babylonian exile, Jewish colonies were established in Mesopotamian cities. As a result of the Persians ending the domination of the Chaldeans and eliminating the Babylonian Empire in 539 BC, Harran fell into the hands of the Persians. Although the Persian king Darius I ended the exile of the Jews and allowed them to go to their country, some of the Jews continued to stay in Mesopotamia and Harran. There was also a strong Jewish colony in Harran during this period. The presence of the Jewish population in the city showed itself with the mention of the city's name in the Bible. The city, which is mentioned in the form of Harran in the Jewish Bible Tanakh, was the first city established on earth after the flood, according to Hebrew narratives and mythology, and was founded by Canaan, one of the grandsons of Noah. In the Jewish Bible Tanakh, Harran, which is mentioned as the place where the prophet Abraham and his ancestor lived, is a sacred place for Judaism. Haran is one of the places associated with the prophet Abraham as well as the prophet Lot, the prophet Shuaib and the prophet Elyasa. The incident of Abraham being thrown into the fire is not included in the Jewish Bible, the Tanakh, but is described in detail in the non-biblical Jewish literature. Haran and the surrounding regions came under Greek domination after Alexander the Great put an end to the Persian Empire in 331 BC, and Haran became an important Greek colony in the following periods. So much so that the famous Islamic jurist, Abu Yusuf, who lived in the Abbasid period, when talking about Haran, says that the people of this place consisted of local people who spoke Syriac and Greeks. Edessa in Hellenistic and Roman times. According to historical data, the city of Edessa was founded during the Seleucid Empire, which was one of the Hellenistic kingdoms established after the death of Alexander the Great, in the area that forms today's Urfa city center, 45 kilometers north of Haran. While the name of the city is Edessa in Greek and Latin sources of the period, it is mentioned as Urhe in Syriac sources, which is also the language of the local people of the city. The Seleucids were unable to withstand the pressure of the Iranians in 132 BC. After the collapse of Iraq, an independent kingdom with the name Osroene was established in Urfa from this date on. The Osroene kingdom is the first independent kingdom established in Urfa and ruled until 244 AD. Since most of the Osroene kings, whose capital was Edessa, or Urfa, were called Abgar, this state was called the Abgars period as well as the Abgars period. In historical records and Abgar legend, it is stated that King Abgar V. Akama was the first Christian king and ruled in Edessa, that he accepted this religion immediately after the prophet Jesus preaching and adopted it to his own people. It is rumored that the fifth Abgar, who suffered from leprosy and suffered a lot because of this, was healed by the miraculous handkerchief sent by the prophet Jesus. During the excavations within the scope of the Castle Skirt project, carried out around the Basilicacistern campus of Şanlıurfa in 2016, a floor mosaic with Syriac inscriptions and fine engravings, which is estimated to belong to the Abgar kingdom, was found. The most precious of the historical artifacts in Şanlıurfa from the Osroene kingdom period is the double column in the castle. These columns are called catapults by the people. These columns were erected by Eftuha, one of the Osroene kings, in the name of his wife Salmet. Around 30 colorful floor mosaics decorated in the Greco-Roman style, Syriac inscriptions and rock tombs found in and around the city belong to the Osroene kingdom. Most of these mosaics were smuggled abroad, and some of them are exhibited in some museums. The most important of these mosaics is the 164 in 152-meter mosaic, dated 194 AD, in which Orpheus, identified with music and poetry in ancient Greece, plays the lyre and various animals gathered around him are depicted while listening to the music. The mosaic was brought to the USA in the 1980s. However, it was later returned to Urfa in 2015 when it was detected in the Dallas Art Museum in the USA. During the Osroene Kingdom period, scientific, literary and especially philosophical studies were given importance in Urfa. Assyrians made the first literary and philosophical studies in the 2nd century AD. The city where the Syriac script was born is Urfa. From the 2nd century onwards, Syriac literature, which developed under the influence of Christianity, was born. The Bible was translated from Greek to Syriac for the first time in this period in Urfa. Although Urfa became one of the main Christian centers, Haran continued to be the most important center of pagan culture in the region. Relative to Haran, their settlement center, the community that their neighbors called the Haranists continued their paganist religious structures based on the star and planet cult led by the moon god Sin. With a peace treaty in 166, the 8th king of Osroene, Manu, came under the patronage of the Roman Empire. During this period, while the Roman Emperor Caracalla was returning from the Mesopotamian campaign in 213, the Urfa king Abgar Severus, X, and his sons were chained and brought to Rome and killed there. The headless kingdom of Osroene was made a Roman colony by Emperor Caracalla in January 214. However, on April 8, 217, Emperor Caracalla was assassinated by an imperial guard officer named Julius Martialis while he was peeing on the side of the road while returning from a visit to the Temple of Sin in Haran. The Osroene kingdom definitively vanished into history, creating a Roman province called Osroene. Abgarphar had, the 11th, the last king of Osroene, returned to Rome in 244 and died there. His and his wife Hada's graves are still in Rome and are visited by historians. Byzantine period. When the Roman Empire was divided into East and West in 395, Urfa remained within the lands of East Rome, that is, Byzantium. When the Sassanids, who ruled in Iran in the 4th century, took Nusaybin from the hands of Byzantium and included it in their own country, More Ephraim, who was among those who fled the city, came to Urfa and established the Edessa Academy, which would become the education center of the Syriac Christian tradition. During this period, the Urfa Academy became the main school that trained Syriac candidates for clergy. These students found a suitable environment in Urfa for serious study. The Assyrians, the oldest community of Christianity, first came to the academy in Urfa, and after completing their education there, they went to the more famous academy in Antakya. In this school he founded, More Ephraim included philological sciences such as grammar, rhetoric and poetry, as well as sciences such as astronomy, geology, logic, philosophy, natural sciences, mathematics and geography. More Ephraim has become one of the leading figures of the Edessa school in Syriac literature with nearly 3 million poetic sentences. In this school, Latin books were translated into Syriac by the translator Diatron, as well as the Bible book from Latin into Syriac. The works of Greek philosophers such as Plato, Aristotle and Plotinus were translated from Greek to Syriac. He became a theologian of Syriac origin in the 5th century. And the Patriarch of Constantinople, Nestorius, put forward a different point of view and his views became the subject of discussion in the Christian world. In the Council of Ephesus convened in 431, Nestorius's views were rejected and considered a reason for apostasy, and Nestorius was dismissed from the Patriarch of Constantinople. He was exiled to a monastery in the Egyptian desert by order of Emperor Theodosius II. However, Nestorius' teaching received support in the Syriac world, whose intellectual focus was in Antakya and Urfa at that time. Urfa soon became a place where those who did not accept the decisions of Ephesus gathered. Urfa Bishop Ibas was put on trial in 448 for allegedly being a Nestorian. With the Council of Chalcedon convened by the Roman Emperor Marcianos in 451, the pressures on the Nestorians began to increase, and in 457, More Narse, who was the head of the Urfa Academy, had to leave the academy. After the closure of the Urfa school, one of the most important intellectual centers of the time, by the Byzantine Emperor Zenon in 489, his teachers took refuge in Iran and moved to Nusaybin, which is just beyond the Byzantine Sassanid border. Resulted in its prominence as a scholastic center. While the Nestorians could not find a place to live in Urfa and Byzantine lands, Nestorian Christian communities formed in all the provinces of Iran on the other side of the border. Those who adopted Monophysitism, which was declared a heretical sect with the Council of Chalcedon in 451, were also exposed to serious oppression and massacres within the borders of the Byzantine Empire. However, the danger of the eastern borders of the Byzantine Empire due to the Sassanid raids gave rise to the idea of resurrecting the Assyrian Church of Antioch. The main missionary of the Monophysite movement, the Bishop of Edessa, Yaqub Baradai, spread Monophysitism in the region with his mission activities from 542 until his death in 578. Post-Islamic period. Edessa was conquered by the Muslim Arabs under the command of Iyaz bin Ghanim in 639 during the reign of Caliph Omar. It was turned into a province together with Haran and Samsat during the Umayyad period. The city was also named Ruha by the Muslim Arabs after the Islamic conquest. Thus, the city was now known as Ruha by Muslims after the Islamic conquest.